Welcome to Mixed Media Friday. What you want to do is you want to take your photo, and I really like to outline where I'm going to place the photo on my page to ensure that I know where to put my embellishments. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to take some modeling paste and I'm going to spread it around with a palette knife that I have. You can use an old credit card or anything you want, and you can use modeling paste or you can use heavy body gesso. Either one will work just fine. And the papers that I'm using is the papers from the Adrenaline collection by Fab Scraps. I love the texture that page has. You can see the script on the side, and it's got kind of like a rip-torn edge on it that is engraved in it. I just love it. This is some Magicals by Lindy Stamp Gang, and I'm just applying a little bit on my crafting mat. And then I'm grabbing some super heavy gel, and I'm mixing it together, and you'll just see the magic come to life. Look at that color. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be using it with a stencil. I'm just grabbing a little bit more just so that I can have enough to put on my page. And I'm sorry, I'm slightly off frame there. And my craft mat is a little bit dirty too. That's what happens when you craft a lot. And that is a Sunrise Sunset stencil by Prima. It's new. It's so beautiful. I love it. I use it quite often. And I'm just applying the gel. I'm not actually trying to pile it on. I'm really just I want a little bit of a raise. I don't want it too much. And just kind of random patterns throughout my page, as you can see. This gel is really easy to use, and the gel that I'm using is by Golden. However, you can probably find other brands, but the heavier the better for this technique, as it blends with the Magicals beautifully. And the Magicals that I used is Tibetan Poppy Teal. What I'm doing next is I'm grabbing the Prima tool designed by Ingvild Bolme, and this is the distress tool. It's so awesome. You can distress, it's got so many heads, and you can distress your photos any way you like. And I just love the old tattered effect of the photo after going over it with this tool. So I'm just distressing it as much as I can. And then with the other side, I'm just distressing the edges a little bit more to give it a little bit more of a curled look. Next, I'm taking a napkin. This is an actual napkin, and so I'm going to be cutting those up. As you saw, I fussy cutted them. They took a little while, so I didn't want to do it on camera. And then from the Adrenaline collection, one of the tags, I cut those two pieces as well, those belt buckles. They're just awesome. And now I'm just grabbing some tissue paper and scrunching it all up and just creating kind of like a collage type look. Very random throughout my page. No real rhyme or reason. And I'm just kind of playing and testing it, and then I'll go ahead in a little bit and put that down. I'm also going to be using some of this twine. I love using twine on my page. It just creates a whole lot of texture. So very randomly kind of placing it on the page. Playing with it again. I didn't like the way it looked. And now I'm taking some gel medium, and you can use Mod Podge, you can use anything you'd like as long as it sticks. So I just use gel medium here, and I love using that. You can use Golden, there's one from Liquitex, there's all different kinds. So just pick your favorite one. And then what I like to do is I like to put it on the back side, but when I put it on the page, I also like to put some over the top. And what it does is it allows the paper not to come up. So I'm going to be using some sprays and such. And when I spray, I don't really want the edges of these things to really come up. To apply the string, I use the gel medium as well, and it works awesome. It dries totally clear, so you won't actually be able to tell any of the little glue globs. You won't be able to see them at all. In fact, if you see anything, it'll create a whole lot of texture because I'll be spraying. You can certainly go ahead and use a liquid glue, like a you know, Fabri-Tac or 3-in-1, something like that. It's up to you. And then I'm just applying a little bit more of that tissue paper on the bottom. And as you can see, you can still see the line for the outline of where I drew my picture. So I'm kind of trying to stay within that line. And now I'm grabbing some masking tape. And this is super fun to stamp on and create a whole lot of texture on your page. On any project, it's great for mixed media. And I know you've seen several videos where I use it for my art journal pages. So this is just another technique that I'll be using. I'm just grabbing a stamp. This stamp happens to be by Kaisercraft. They're just little butterflies. And I'm just stamping it all over to give the tissue paper some texture. And I'm using Stays on ink because I'll be using water and sprays. I don't want the ink to run. So you want to use a permanent ink when creating your project. Now I'm taking some Fabio. And this is Rizzo Rowdy Red. And I'm just spraying it. And I'm getting really close because I want there to be drippage. And then I'm just running it across the page. And then next what I'll be doing is I'll be taking some water, just a water bottle. And my water bottles seem to have been a little bit clogged, but I'm spraying some water because I want there to be drippage and I want there to be a variation in color, in shading, I should say. So I want some parts to be darker and some parts to be lighter. So that's why I'm spraying the water. And I really like it dripping all the way down. And I'm hitting the page like that because it creates really cool splash marks on my page, as you can see. Next, I'm taking Grease Lightning Green and applying it in random spots here and there and kind of doing the same. And then this is Zuko Denim, a little bit of blue, some teal type blue. And then Alpine Ice Rose, a little bit of a kind of an orangey pink, if you will. And really what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to ensure that I match the colors of my napkin that I had used earlier. This is Rusty Bucket, the fluid chalk ink, designed by Ingvild, Bolme, and Prima, and it's so beautiful. They're so fluid that it just makes inking so easy. I found that the layout was missing a little bit of lace, so I just applied a little bit of lace on the bottom, and I'm going to just put it up so that the photo kind of sits on top of it a little bit and some of it is peeking out. It just adds a little bit more texture to the page. And to balance the page, I put some on the top as well. And I'm just using my gel medium to apply it to my page. Next, I'm going to take some Alpine Rose, and I just want to make sure that the lace really just blends into the rest of the page, because if I don't spray it, it's going to kind of be too stark. So I'm just spraying it all along. And I know it doesn't look too great right now. I'm spraying a little bit of water, but I promise you, this may look like a hot mess, but in the end, it kind of comes together. This is just the steps you need to go through to create texture and layers on your page. So just stick with me. I'm using gel medium to apply my photo down, but you're certainly able to use anything. Now this is a really fun project. I peeled the back of the napkin so that these images are really thin after I've cut them. And so I'm going to collage them onto my page. Now you got to be really careful because they kind of fold up, as you saw. So they rip very easily. So very carefully I place them on, and I just apply a little bit more gel medium even on the top to ensure that they don't peel up. And it just kind of becomes part of the paper. You don't need to apply too much on the back side as long as you place lots on the top. So I just applied a little bit on the back to get it started, but then I put it down, and then right now I'm just brushing it over the top. And then I cut the little ones as well because I thought they were super cute, the little buds. And I'm just placing them on my page. These guys wanted to rip very easily. Just applying a little bit on the top. And you got to watch, see mine just folded. So you just want to make sure that you don't apply too much gel at the beginning until it's perfectly down, or it's going to lift and bubble and rip. So you want to let that dry before applying anything else on your page. Otherwise it is going to bubble up with as soon as you spray or do anything else to it. And last but not least, I'm applying a last one on the top just to balance the page a little bit. Next I'm going to ink up my buckles, my belts with my buckles, and I'm going to apply them. And I know it seems like they don't belong, but I just thought it was a really fun accent to have on the page. And I tried it on the bottom, but I didn't really like it that much, so I decided to put it on the top. These are some butterflies I got actually from Michael's, and I'm going to be spraying these butterflies. And I really like these butterflies because I'm not sure if you'll be able to tell on the video. But first I'm going to spray them. And just two different, with a brown and a teal, and dry them up. Using some Stays On ink, I'm going to grab that same stamp that I used just to create a little bit of texture. I'm just stamping them. And sorry, I'm a little bit off frame there, but you can see it just leaves a little bit of an image. I found that I don't have enough of the Danny Zuko denim, so I'm just applying a little bit more so that when I put the butterflies that are a little bit blue, they go a little bit better. And then I'm just spraying a little bit of water again to dilute. And then with my paper towel, just dubbing some of that excess off. Now I'm applying the butterflies, and what I'm doing is, I love these butterflies because I'm kind of breaking them so that they become dimensional. But you got to be really careful not to break them too much, or they'll just completely split in half. So I just apply glue to the back side of them and I glue them down. And I like to use, for something like this, wood or metal or anything like that, I like to use Beacon 3-in-1 or the Beacon Zip Dry or Beacon Fabri-Tac. Either one of those three works really great. And I'm just kind of putting my butterflies in random patterns. I'm going to put one on the bottom to balance the page out, of course. And I know the page still seems a little bit dark, but don't you worry. We will be lightening it up in just a moment. Next, I'm taking some vintage pink fluid chalk ink, again designed by Ingvild. And I could have done this before I put the butterflies down, but I just didn't realize how dark they would be on the page, which sometimes you just have to do after you've done a page, after you start designing. Par for the course. And because they're so ergonomically designed, I just love how easy it is to ink up anything after you've put it on the page. And I love that pink look that it gives the butterflies. So pretty. So now the butterflies pop a little bit more, and they blend a little bit more with the pink that's on that page. Next, I'm taking some titanium white. This is an airbrush ink. However, you can actually dilute gesso and do the same thing. I just had it right on hand, so I'm using it. And I like to use a fan brush because it creates more random effects. And all I'm doing right now, you guys, is I'm just toning down some of the sprays as they were a little bit too dark and it wasn't allowing the page to blend. It was too dark. So just toning it down, and I want kind of that color just to go down a little bit. So all I'm doing is using my fan brush. And all you have to do, if you don't have this type of ink, just grab some gesso, a little bit of gesso, and then a little bit more water, and then blend it together, and it'll have the exact same effect. Next, you can take a paper towel roll, a toilet paper roll. I just had this right beside me, so this is what I'm using. But you can take anything, and I'm going to create a coffee stain. I just didn't want to run upstairs to get anything, so That's what I used. Sometimes you just got to use what's on hand. And then I'm grabbing a little bit of a water bottle because I want, this is distressing. This is vintage photo distressing. So really, really fun because it reacts to water. So I'm doing that again. And I don't want it to be perfect. And then the water just kind of helps it become a little bit more vintage-like. Next, we need a title for our page. So what I did is I actually have some burlap that I bought last year, and I cut up just with my hands some little tiny banners. So you can create this all on your own. And I'm just going to create a little title using some twine and a little bit of burlap. And you can get burlap at your local fabric store. I actually happened to buy it at my art store. They were carrying it. And I'm using some of the Prima stickers, and I'm just putting the title down, and I'm putting moments as the title. This is a picture of my little niece. I think she was a few weeks old or so. Now what I want to do is I'm going to take my distress tool. I could have done this at the beginning of my creation, but I didn't think of it then. So I'm doing it now, hindsight. And it's probably easier to do it at the beginning, but that's okay. And I want lots of rippage. I'm kind of ripping on purpose, just distressing and ripping and making it a little bit more grunge. And what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to place it on top of another piece of paper from the Adrenaline collection that matches the line perfectly. And as I put it down, I'm going to start to curl the edges a little bit so that some of the blue pops through. So just distressing it with your fingers. Your fingers are the best distress tool. And then again, I'm taking that rusty bucket and just inking the edges all around to blend it all together. Last but not least, this page needs Prima flowers. So I'm grabbing one of the vines and some flowers, and I'll have the list of the flowers that I used on my blog. These are from a little bit older collections, but they match the line perfectly, so I really wanted to use them. And then these are classic Prima roses. So they've been around forever, and you can buy them in bulk, and I just love them. Somebody sent them to me when they had a big warehouse sale. I kind of hoard them a little bit. And I'm just kind of tucking them underneath the other flowers, and it just creates a really beautiful vine all in itself. My favorite is these burlap leaves. Because I use burlap already on the page, I thought it would be perfect to use the burlap leaves. They have a ton of texture, and it goes with the same theme. And the glue that I'm using is the Beacon 3-in-1 to create. Next, I found that it needed a little bit more of a whitewash. The flowers were a little bit too dark. So I am using a little bit of that same whitewash to create that effect. And now I found that the top was missing something, so I wanted to put a little bit more of that twine. It just needed something on the top. It was just a little bit too empty. And the circle was a little bit too dark. The stain that we had created was a little bit too dark. So again, I'm applying the twine with 3-in-1. As I said, you could use 3-in-1, you can use anything you want. And now I just want to tone it down by using some of that whitewash. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Right now, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to add some whitewash to the rest of the page. I hope you enjoyed it, and by all means, check out my blog for more still photos. And thanks again for always watching my videos. I hope you enjoyed Mixed Media Friday. Have a great day. Bye-bye.